Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Dougherty. I'm your host, Rick Dougherty, and I have a really fun show for you today. In just a few moments, my friend Marisa will join me to discuss the recent announcement from Universal Orlando Resort that they will be moving forward with their plans on the brand new theme park, Epic Universe. Immediately after the pandemic hit, Universal announced a delay to those plans, but earlier this month, when Universal announced the project was back on again, it really did excite the theme park community. Before we get started, I just want to take the time to ask you to like, subscribe, and comment. Please feel free to tell friends about the show as well. It really would help. In addition, if you're thinking about a Universal Orlando Resort, Walt Disney World, or any other type of vacation, shoot me an email at rick@eartotheretravel.com, rick@eartotheretravel.com. And you can give me a call, 727-507-3123, 727-507-3123. My services are always 100% free to you, and I'm in the theme parks each and every week. All right, let's welcome Marisa for our conversation on Epic Universe. How are you doing today, Marisa?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So I'm definitely doing a lot better because of the news earlier this month that Universal Orlando Resort is going to move ahead with their project for Epic Universe. I think the first question I have for you is, are you as surprised as I was to even hear that information with everything happening?
Oh my gosh, yes. I was not expecting to hear that. I mean, at least for 2021. I was thinking maybe they'd bring it back in 2022, but I was not expecting them to say, we're moving ahead with it. It's happening. Certainly not this early this year.
I'm almost wondering, and this is just that inside baseball stuff that you have to think about. You know, it's almost like a little bit conspiratorial. But I wonder if they are taking this opportunity where they're saying, you know what, we're all losing money. Walt Disney World's losing money. We're losing money. Let's just keep spending that money so that when money does start rolling in, we have this brand new thing where we can compete with Walt Disney World again.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And I also think they have a little bit more of a safety net because they're backed by Comcast. So Comcast has had a great year because everyone working from home has had to up their internet. So, they've been doing fine. And so they have a little bit more wiggle room there to say, you know what, we're going to take this chance and we are going to get this started now so that when everyone starts reopening fully, we've got a leg up already.
That is a really good point, and one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show today.
It's interesting to be following the two parks. I know there's a lot of, fan rivalry between them, but they're both so much fun. They're both great parks at the end of the day.
I'm not saying this with any other aspect of life, but I definitely think in theme parks, a rising tide absolutely lifts all boats. And the more that Universal has to try to up its game to compete with Walt Disney World, then the more Walt Disney World has to try to compete with Universal. We even saw that exact thing with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge coming after the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which probably leads us pretty easily into the first thing we're going to talk about Epic Universe. And that is, at least as of right now, they're planning on having a Fantastic Beasts land. And I know you are a huge, huge Harry Potter fan. For those of us who maybe aren't, like, I love the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, but I have never seen a Harry Potter movie. What is up with Fantastic Beasts? If you're maybe a casual Harry Potter fan, or maybe you just like it in the theme parks, what can you even expect from this land?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because the lands are designed to be, welcoming to everyone, regardless of how much they know about the franchise. But Fantastic Beasts, I think you will have to know a little bit more for any sort of land because Harry Potter is sort of common knowledge. People know what Hogwarts is. Even if they're not Harry Potter fans, they're familiar with the term. But Fantastic Beasts doesn't have as much of, a popular franchise backing. There's only 2 movies out now. I know there's planned to be 5 movies. So I personally will be interested to see if they're planning on building something from one of the two movies we've already seen, or if there's something that we've yet to see that they're saying, hey, movie three is supposed to tackle this issue, and, this scene will end up being a really great ride that we can incorporate into a theme park. Because right now, as it is, in the first movie, I don't think there's too much that they can create a whole land out of. I know it's been talked about, it's been theorized that there's a scene they're in the Ministry of Magic in America. And it's been theorized that that could be something. But to make that a whole land, I'm not sure if that would work. So I think it's really interesting to speculate on it right now. There was a scene in the second movie where they go to a circus, and there's all this kind of crazy stuff happening, and there's fireworks going off. And I remember watching that and thinking, okay, I could see this in a theme park. This might have been written to be in a theme park. So I could see them maybe putting that in there.
So, one of the other things that just sort of strikes me as curious, because this is going to be a next level theme park when you talk about the entire area. And I definitely think Disney is going to have a hard time competing with it. We'll talk about that a little more later in the episode. But to take a franchise that is related to Harry Potter, something so huge, but really doesn't have the same legs as Harry Potter as far as fan base, it seems like an interesting decision to make when you're riding so much on this is going to have to be a massive success. And then when you start throwing in that no matter what your political views are, J.K. Rowling is not going to be without controversy. And I also don't think that she's, even politics aside again, the easiest person with whom to work on something like this. I'm wondering if this is even going to move forward. Does that make sense?
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think there would be a lot of disappointed fans if that happened. But at the same time, I can totally see the logic behind it. Like you said, with J.K. Rowling not really being well liked right now in general, and especially with her reputation of being difficult to work with for these lands and having so many stipulations of things she wants so exact. I can see that being an issue. And another issue is Johnny Depp was Grindelwald, one of the title characters of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and he was recently let go from the series, which to me throws into question the series as a whole. Where are they going with these next three movies if it was supposed to be building up to this big battle between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and now you've just lost Grindelwald? What do you do with that? Do you change it? Do you, decide we're going to go back to it being a trilogy and that's it? And how would that affect, the parks? Because, like you said, it doesn't have the legs underneath it right now to have this huge franchise. So maybe they decide, you know what, we're not even going to touch Fantastic Beasts, and instead we're going to go with this other franchise, super popular. We'll put that in. It's a possibility.
And then we're going to move over to the fact that there's a How to Train Your Dragon land that is planned. Now, I'm also not a person who's seen all the How to Train Your Dragon movies, but they are very popular. And it definitely is the type of franchise that really seems like it could create a really, really good land in a theme park. Actually, if you're paying attention, Disney, probably something more like what you should have done instead of Pandora, but we'll talk about that at a different time. So, what are your thoughts on the How to Train Your Dragon area, what that will bring to the theme parks?
Oh, I think that will be huge. That's a franchise that's beloved by many generations. Kids watch it, adults watch it, and everyone can get something from it. They're great animated films. And I think, the potential of having a How to Train Your Dragon ride is so cool. And it does bear that comparison to Pandora when you say, okay, Flight of Passage has that simulator where you're riding on the back of a banshee and it looks like you're flying through the air. And then you think, okay, with updated technology now, even just a few years later, they could do something really cool with you on the back of a dragon and flying through things. And I read a while back a rumor, and I don't know, it's obviously just a rumor, so I don't know how true any of this is, but I did read that there is the potential of Universal developing a system where you could ride on the dragon but control where you go. So it would almost be like a virtual reality simulator in the ride. And I think what we've seen with the Mario Kart ride in Japan shows that they have technology to be able to do something like this. And I think that would be very exciting.
It almost, for those of you who focus way more on Walt Disney World, it would almost be like combining Flight of Passage with Smuggler's Run in Galaxy's Edge, from what you're saying. I also see that there are plans for a dueling roller coaster that is not attached to any of the franchises, that is supposed to be right in between Fantastic Beasts and How to Train Your Dragon. And obviously, people who love Universal theme parks know there used to be a Dueling Dragons roller coaster in Universal, so that would maybe make sense if they would, now that they have gotten rid of it in Islands of Adventure, that they carry the theme over to Epic Universe. I think it would make a lot of sense for people who are missing that old attraction.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of people missing that old attraction and wishing they could bring it back, wishing they could have that experience again as the two coasters go up and, it looks like you're going to collide and then you go your own ways. And that was a huge thrill for so many people. I think Universal will be very smart to bring something like that back. And you're right that it looks in between the lands, which I think is really cool because it really doesn't have to have a theme. A coaster like that would be so popular on its own that they could get away with saying, okay, here's our dueling coaster, enjoy. And people would.
Yeah, like you said, just literally put something up and just say, hey, it's a great ride. Who cares if it has a theme? Just sit back and enjoy it. One of the things about which I'm the most excited is one of the things that Universal does so very, very well, and that is to have this classic monsters area that is going to be basically right across the water from the Fantastic Beasts area. I'm glad they didn't just shove all new IP into this theme park, that they thought about the history and what it really means to be Universal. I'm super excited for that because there's so many things that they could do with this. They could take the Halloween Horror Nights vibe, use it 365 days a year. It seems to be what they do best, is to have this entertainment maybe for a segment of the fan base that Disney sometimes misses, which is that like 18 to 34 area. And I think this is right in that wheelhouse.
I agree. I think that's definitely a segment that Disney forgets about a lot of the time. Or not necessarily that they forget about, but they don't have lands that are as themed to that. And the monsters would be huge for that. I think the ability to say year round you can have some element of Halloween Horror Nights would be hugely popular. Though my only concern with this land is that they'll try to do something like Horror Nights year round. And I don't think it would be wrong to emulate the spirit of it or to try to do something with it. But I wouldn't want to see, okay, we're going to have haunted houses rotating through and you can come see them whenever. Because I think, the limited event of Halloween Horror Nights is part of the appeal to it and being able to go during the Halloween season.
I 100% agree with everything that you just said. It's more about that vibe that they create well. But yeah, this is definitely not me saying I want Halloween Horror Nights all year long, because it is the specialness of that event, especially when they do the next one after not really doing anything this year except for the houses that were available during the day. But people are going to be so stoked for this event, and it's because of the limited access to it. So yeah, if you start making something every day, it doesn't become as special. But something that is going to be special no matter what and we're all seeing the previews from overseas. This is going to be next level. I think this is going to. Well, let me ask you something before we get into that. In your opinion, as somebody who is a fan of both Star Wars and of Harry Potter, when you compare Galaxy's Edge to Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which one do you have as your winner?
A lot of the Disney people are going to hate me for this, but it is Harry Potter hands down for me. Being able to step into that world was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. There's something about being in that, walking through Diagon Alley, and then there's that little nook, and you go into Nocturne Alley, and it's, dark and kind of hidden back there. And what's really cool to me is being able to use the wands throughout the Harry Potter worlds, being able to cast those spells and really live that kind of adventure. Take the Hogwarts Express back and forth between the two lands. Um, I think that's really special, and it just never gets old for me.
So then you're saying now that you think Wizarding World of Harry Potter is sort of the step above. That's the gold standard right now. Even for people who think it is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, like, oh, I don't know, myself, that is the level that Universal is going to have to compete with Super Nintendo Land, because this is going to have to, in everybody's eyes, surpass those two lands. This is the fulcrum of Epic Universe. This is what's going to make it a success or not a success, is how much people love this land. Now, from everything I've seen, people are going to love this land. But why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I would agree with you. From everything I've seen as well, it looks absolutely amazing. And I don't think people are going to have any sort of qualms about just absolutely falling in love with this land. Seeing the concept art for the first time was really exciting, but then actually getting some pictures from the land overseas and seeing how it looks so much like the concept art, which is such a feat in itself. And you really do see this animated world, spring up, and it's different than anything else any other theme park has tried to create, because it is this video game come to life, and now you get to be placed inside of it to play all these games that you've grown up with. It's super exciting, and I think that based on what we've seen so far, it's going to surpass all of our expectations.
And that's going to be hard because it is such a, pardon the pun, I guess, universal experience, because people have been playing Nintendo games since, I mean, I was a little kid. I got a Nintendo when I was, I don't know, 5, 6. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but every age group has some sort of nostalgia for this. It's not like Harry Potter, where it's a lot of recent people who have the nostalgia for it, a lot of younger people. And of course, yes, there are people like my wife is a Harry Potter fan who's maybe a little older than the demographic. But Star Wars, obviously, you're dealing with a lot of older people, or a lot of people who, you're definitely starting it with an older demographic. But here, this is going to be everything from people who are my age to kids. I mean, it's going to attract everybody.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to do a great job offering something for everybody, or at least I hope they do, because they do know that the audience spans, a large age range, like you were saying. And I think they would be remiss not to include something that younger kids could ride and enjoy as well.
And if there's one complaint I do have about Universal Orlando Resort, it would be that one. Because if you don't like water rides and you're a kid, there's not a whole lot for you. There's E.T., there's like all the stuff like the Woody the Woodpecker roller coaster, but that always has a 5 minute wait. I went on a day that there was an 85-minute wait for E.T., and the Woody Woodpecker roller coaster had a 5 minute wait, so nobody ever rides that ride. So they definitely need to have some more things to attract kids.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think it would be interesting to see, like we were talking about the How to Train Your Dragon Land. I think that would have something for younger kids as well. The classic monsters, I'm not so sure. I know there are, kids definitely interested in that and who love that stuff. Um, so if there was something like a show or a house that they could go through that may not be Halloween Horror Night level scary, I think this land as a whole could be a game changer in terms of families with young kids visiting Universal and really getting a lot out of their trips.
And it does make for a good combination of sort of thrilling rides because they'll have the Mario Kart ride, like you said, that will be action packed, but doesn't have to be a roller coaster per se. And maybe some other rides that aren't quite as intense. Like you can definitely get a good cross section of attractions in a land like this. And it will also be interesting to see how much they just cut and paste from the one overseas and how much they try to do differently here. But Super Nintendo Land for them is going to have to be at least on par with Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and probably is going to have to surpass it because this is going to be the main draw to this theme park. Like you said, I don't think they're going to miss on this one. I don't think it's going to be a swing and a miss. I think they're going to definitely understand, like they did with Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where they realize we just have to do this perfectly. And I think they will do that, but it will be interesting to see. Another weird thing about Epic Universe is it is going to be not very far, but it's not right there like the other parks. Even Volcano Bay, which is right off of I 4, like you can see it from I 4, that's still in a compact area and an area that makes sense and feels like you're immersed into the Universal environment. And then the new Endless Summer Resorts, which I love, are a little bit further out. But then this is going to be even further away. So it's going to be interesting to see how they keep that immersion and have you feeling like you're still on a Universal vacation.
I think this one will be, I think it's like 15 minutes down the road, which really isn't bad. It's still fairly close, but it will definitely be a change of pace from, you know, what their usual theme park experience is, where you can just walk back and forth between the lands and it's no big deal. You can get from Islands of Adventure to Universal Studios in 3 minutes. So it's not like you have to really think about it in advance. Whereas this, you will have to say, all right, I'm going to go board the shuttle that's going to take me over to Epic Universe. But I don't think it will be much of an issue. I mean, we know Disney does it with their parks, and people are fine with it, even if they might have some trouble with the bus systems. But I think that ultimately they'll be able to still keep that theme going.
The only difference I see between Walt Disney World and what's going on with Epic Universe, somebody could say, oh, it's only going to be 15 minutes away. Well, it takes me 15 minutes to take the monorail from Magic Kingdom back to the TTC, let alone then go to Epcot, which is another 15 minutes. And that's true, but the 15 minutes between Universal Orlando Resort as we know it right now and where Epic Universe is going to be, that's 15 minutes of Orlando. Like, it's 15 minutes of gun billboards and, some of the weird Florida tourist trap stuff. And you see that a little bit if you stay at Endless Summer Resort because maybe looking out your window, you see an IHOP or something, but you still sort of feel like you're in the atmosphere. I just wonder what it's going to be like taking that shuttle from City Walk and going through Orlando on your way to this theme park. Now, once you get there, I think they're definitely going to do a great job of immersing you because the entrance looks beautiful and then it really looks like they're going to surround you and almost give you that Disney berm experience where you're not going to be able to see the outside world, even though you can kind of see that a little bit from the Universal parks right now.
Yeah, that is a great point. Not being an Orlando native, when I do go down to Disney or Universal, I am in those little bubbles. So it will definitely be a different experience to be going through just general Orlando. But it does look in the rendering almost like there will be a hotel there, which I think is very interesting because, like you said, it is a little set apart. So, what will this hotel back? Will it just be enough empty space for it to really not be looking out over another highway with a bunch of billboards? How will that play out? But for people who really want to immerse themselves into Epic Universe, I could see that being that's a huge deal if they ended up building a hotel on that site as well.
That hotel is such a huge question mark because when you look at the renderings, and you can very easily tell what's going to be Super Nintendo Land and what's going to be How to Train Your Dragon and what's going to be Fantastic Beasts, and then there's just this generic hotel at the end of it. I think if they can step up their game and bring the type of hotel that it appears they're planning on building with this rendering, this could become the go-to theme park hotel in the Orlando area because it looks like it's going to be beautiful. It looks like they're going to put all this attention into it. It's going to have views of the theme park from half of the rooms. And when I say half the rooms, like the contemporary resort at Walt Disney World has views of Magic Kingdom, but this looks like it's going to have thousands of rooms that are going to overlook Epic Universe. And people love that type of experience. And if the Endless Summer Resorts, Dockside and Surfside, are any indication of how they can do a value resort at Universal, they're going to knock a luxury or a deluxe resort out of the park. Because those Endless Summer Resorts, for a value, are awesome. This artist rendering, this is going to be a pretty impressive hotel.
Yeah, it looks absolutely incredible. And I think Universal as a whole does such a great job with their hotels that you're right. This could really be the big hotel in Orlando. And like you were saying too about having views of that theme park from the artist rendering, it looks as if there are fireworks going off as well. So then imagine staying at that resort, and not only can you look out over the theme parks lit up beautifully at night, but then you can also sit in your room and watch fireworks go off. And there are thousands of rooms for that to happen. That's such a big deal. I'm so excited to see what they do with it.
And it is right there. Like, it is closer to the Epic Universe rendering than the contemporary is to Magic Kingdom. This is not something you get in the Orlando area. This is more like maybe Disneyland Paris. They have a hotel right at the entrance, or people who've been to Disneyland with the Grand Californian attached to Disney's California Adventure. This looks like the type of thing that if you get early access from your resort stay, that you're just going to be able to walk downstairs or take the elevator down to the first floor and just enter the theme park at 8 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And those are the type of experiences for which people are going to pay top dollar.
Yeah, that could be, we could see a very expensive hotel coming to Universal, which is funny because I do feel like their hotels are very fairly priced across the board. Their value hotels truly are values when you see those rates. This could just blow everything out of the water. They can be saying, all right, we're charging, rates comparable to the Grand Californian over in Disneyland. We're just going to blow it up and people would pay for it.
Yeah, when you look at the price point between, say, Pop Century at Walt Disney World and Endless Summer, which are both values, and I am not ragging on Pop Century at all, but Endless Summer is always cheaper and is a much, much nicer, newer hotel experience than Pop Century. So before I let you go, Marissa, I would like to talk about a little pie in the sky idea we were discussing, and that is Universal's going ahead, and they are moving ahead with their fourth gate or third gate if you don't consider Volcano Bay to be a theme park. They're moving ahead with a new gate. If Walt Disney World were to finally, as everybody seems to want, move ahead with a fifth gate, what would you want to see?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, like every other Disney fan, I think, who has been to the parks in the last 20 years, I have speculated about this many, many times and thought about it a lot. If we're going to go totally unrealistic, probably will never happen, but gosh, I'd love to see it happen. I want that Marvel Land. I want what they did for Harry Potter at Universal. I want them to do it for Marvel in Disney World, and I just want them to do an entire park and it's just Marvel. And they have enough to do it. You could put all the different areas in it, all the different, you could do a whole, well, I was going to say you could do a Guardians of the Galaxy section, but they're putting that in Epcot, so I guess not. But you could put, all the different places you wanted in there and just have different sections devoted to different heroes. You could have a hub area with the Avengers. That would be fun. Would never happen. Would never happen in a million years, but it would be cool.
I was thinking that when Universal, after all of this recession or however bad it gets to be following everything with the pandemic, that to build Epic Universe, they might be willing to sell the theme park rights on the East Coast to Disney for Marvel so that they could use that money to build Epic Universe. That was my hope. That was in my little head canon, was that was how this was going to happen, because I love the Marvel section of Islands of Adventure. Don't get me wrong, the Spider-Man ride is super fun. The Hulk roller coaster, everybody loves it, even if it's a little too bumpy or, hurts people in that way. But I just don't think that it steps up to the quality that Disney could do if, like you said, they built an entire Marvel park. I was thinking what would be really cool if they could get those rights from Universal to use Marvel on the East Coast to do another park that was similar to Hollywood Studios. Only you go in, and to your right, there's Marvel. In front of you, they do something similar to a Toy Story land. They have a land that's maybe based on another Pixar property. Hey, maybe we could do Cars Land on the East Coast like they have at Disney's California Adventure. And then to the left, they could finally do a second Star Wars land that would maybe cover not a specific time frame. Instead of eliminating the time frame from Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios, you keep it there. You keep that one immersive, and you make the one in this new park maybe a little bit more generic, so you can have the Mandalorian there. You can have some of the original trilogy characters there. And then, like Wizarding World of Harry Potter, learn from your competition, you can connect them somehow so that you can go from Batuu to this other Star Wars land. That's my dream of a new Walt Disney World theme park, that it would have some of those types of experiences in them.
I think that would be amazing. I think, how you were saying you could have a different land in there. I think something that would be a great direct competition with Mario would be to put Kingdom Hearts in a new land for Disney, because that's a huge video game franchise, and that would be really cool to see a take on that. And especially because, those games do incorporate the IP of Disney, you can do a lot with bringing in new rides and bringing in those characters.
And that would do a really good job of promoting something that maybe the older Disney fans don't even know exists. Kind of like how Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway brings that new style of animation for the Mickey shorts to a new audience. Whether they like it or whether they don't, that's another thing. But it might help not only give you a great land for your theme parks, but help promote Kingdom Hearts as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. And if they were to build another Star Wars based land, I do think the right move would be to say, this doesn't have a specific time frame. So you can bring in all those beloved characters that people want to see. And I think another thing that would be really cool, like you were saying, learn from your competition. I would love to see them do something in the park where you can buy a force bracelet or something, and it has that chip in it that allows you to, hold your hand up and move it in a certain way, and then a droid will pop up and toddle around and then sit back down. Just little force interactions throughout the park to really bring that land alive and let you interact with it more personally.
Absolutely. Such a fun conversation. Always fun to follow Marisa on Twitter. That's at ThinkMickeyBlog on Twitter. She always has good ideas like these. I really appreciate you joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. A lot of fun.
If you have any ideas for a fifth gate at Walt Disney World or to share your thoughts on Epic Universe, please leave it in the comments. It would also mean a lot for you to like and subscribe. For a free, no obligation quote on a Universal Orlando resort or Walt Disney World vacation, get in touch with me at rick@eartotheretravel.com or 727-507-3123. My travel planning services are always 100% free to you. You will also really help the show. For pictures, videos, and live streams from the parks, head to facebook.com/eartothererick, twitter.com/rick_ear, and instagram.com/rickear2there. Thank you for joining me for episode 8 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Dougherty. I will talk to you again next Thursday with another episode of the show. Have a great week.